Hey guys, welcome to Bibarel Turbo through Celestial Blaze featuring new Simisear VSTAR from Crown Zenith with the amazing Fireball Fever attack doing 40 base damage for 1 fire and 2 colorless, plus 40 more for each card you discard from the top of your deck. You get to discard a maximum of 5 cards from the top deck, and that means you are doing a maximum of 240 damage with this attack, plus 30 more if you have that 1 copy of Choice Belt in your hand to attach. But we are only playing 1 copy though. You can even think about playing Rapidash to do extra damage with this ability, discarding a fire energy from your hand to do 30 plus damage with your fire Pokemon's attacks. But we are not playing any Rapidash for this deck. We have instead our Braixen Serena combo doing 60x damage for each Serena in your discard pile. With Flag Parade for 2 colorless, you get to do a maximum of 240 damage as well for a 1 price attacker. It's actually a perfect combo with our Fireball Fever, since we are discarding the top 5 cards every single turn with this attack, and eventually we would be able to discard our Serena from the top card of our decks, allowing us to do more damage with our Braixen later on in the game. We are playing 2 copies of our Braixen and also 2 copies of our V-Star, allowing us to do our Fireball Fever, or at least play Flag Parade for 180 damage early game. If we can do 180 with our Serena, 3 Serena in the discard pile, that would be enough to collect the knockout after playing our Fireball Fever for the first attack. So we want to be charging up our Simisear to attack first, and then play our Braixen later, just because it's a lot easier to attack with our Fireball Fever, since we don't need any conditions to satisfy except for the attack cost. So for our Braixen, we need to discard our Serena, and we are not playing any Professor Burnett. We are not playing any other cards but Trekking Shoe 1 copy to discard our Serena from our hand. We also have our Ultra Ball and Quick Ball, but we are not able to get that many Serena into our hand that easily, since we only have a limited amount of bench spot and only 1 Lumineon to play for the search support. So we want to be using our Simisear to discard first, and also do damage while we are playing our Fireball Fever, get enough damage in the game before we play our Braixen to collect the knockout with our Flag Parade, drawing prize cards with our 1 price attacker. We also get to target another Pokemon, another V-Star with our Braixen, and then think about collecting knockout with our Oricorio by placing 5 damage counters with our Glistening Droplets, collecting the knockout against 2 V-Stars with 1 attack. So we want to be using our Serena at the right time to target 2 V-Stars with 1 Choice Belt, 1 with Choice Belt, 1 without, and that's enough to kill 2 V-Stars with 5 damage counters on the next turn. So if we play our Choice Belt right, we may be able to draw 4 prize cards in a single turn using our Oricorio. So we also have 4 Magma Basin for the charge support, helping us attach enough energies for us to attack fast. We have 1 Raihan, 1 Double Turbo for the extra energy attachment. We have 11 basic fire energy with 1 Kindler for the draw support, and also 1 Marnie, 1 Bird Keeper with 4 Serena, 2 Bibarel, and 1 Radiant Greninja to draw cards as well. We have 1 Manaphy for the bench barrier, 4 VIP Pass, 4 Quick Ball, and 2 Capture as usual for the basic summon, and 2 Incense with 1 Great Ball and 2 Ultra Ball to get our evolutions. We have 1 Rod to shuffle back our Pokemon and energies, 1 Escape Rope, 1 Bird Keeper, 1 Air Balloon, and 1 Scoop Up Net to help us switch so that we get to attack on the same turn right after playing our Magma Basin, since it only allows us to attach to our bench fire Pokemon. Finally, we have 1 Lumineon V to help us search for our Serena, 1 Drapion V to counter Mew VMAX, and 11 basic fire energy. So that's all for the deck list. Now let's go for some gameplay! Okay, let's go for our first game versus Darkrai V-Star. So we're playing the new Simisear V-Star, doing Fireball Fever for a maximum of 240 damage. You get to choose though how many you are discarding from the top 5 cards of your deck. If you choose to discard only 2, you're doing 120 damage. For 1 fire and 2 colorless, which is not bad. So if you can get your Magma Basin early with your Radiant Greninja, you can already attach 2 energies on your first turn if you have your Simisear on the bench. So we are only playing 2 copies of Simisear though. If you have it in the active, if you don't go second on your first turn, if you don't play Bursting Power, then you are not able to attach the extra 1 energy on your first turn, but you still have your second turn to pull out your Magma Basin. If you have it in the active spot though, you have to do a double switch to be able to attack on your second turn while evolving the V-Star. So it's kind of difficult to charge up for the 3 energy costs, but we do have that Double Turbo and Raihan to fall back on just in case we don't get the Magma Basin. So we have our Trekking Shoes as well to dig out our Stadium card, just because it actually works really well with your Hisuian Zoroark V-Star, not only for the discard but also to dig out your Stadium card, and that's the reason we have our Trekking Shoes for this deck. So right now they have a Moltres already in play, and they are digging for the energy. They are attaching extra energy with Diaflame Wings and also Dark Patch. Can they get enough to kill our V-Star on their second turn? So we are placing damage counters on our own Pokemon using Magma Basin on our fire type. And if we place too many damage counter though, it's going to be a lot easier for our opponent to do the knockout. So make sure you're aware of the HP, the remaining HP that you have on your V-Star and also Braixen, just because Sableye, Lost Mine is still able to do a knockout, to do a double knockout against your Braixen or Fennekin on the bench. If you play your Magma Basin too early, they may be able to draw more than one prize by doing a Lost Mine. So you have to be very careful when to play your Magma Basin and when to place the damage counters. Evolve is always best practice to evolve first, because against Lost Boxes especially, just because, you know, you have a lot more HP to tank with your Braixen than your Fennekin, and that actually denies them the 2 prize knockout with their Lost Mine. So we got our Bibarel on our second turn, which is great. We even got our V-Star, and now we're going to discard our Serena to bench another Fennekin with our Quick Ball. We're going to play our Industrious Incisor first, and then do the Marnie. Try to dig out the switch card. So for this list, we have 2 Bibarel. It's a little bit of a different list. Eventually, I decided, you know what? Let's just try 1 Lumineon V and a little bit more supporter cards. So we have only 1 copy of Bibarel now with 1 Bidoof, no Heavy Ball. And we have instead our Marnie, an extra copy of Marnie, with also a Lumineon V to search for our Serena, which is perfect actually, just because if you don't discard, just because we are only playing 4 copies, a maximum of 4 copies of our Serena in the deck, we can't fit in more obviously. And if we don't discard, we are only discarding the top 5 cards of the deck. So if we don't discard Serena with our Fireball Fever, we are forced to search it into our hand, draw it out into our hand with our Bibarel, or even search it with our Lumineon V to be able to play it or discard extra copies from our hand to do big damage with our Braixen later on in the game. So if we don't do at least 120 damage with our Braixen, we're done for, and that's the reason I say we need to discard Serena early in the game. If we don't discard with our Simisear V-Star, it's going to be a lot more difficult to do damage with our Braixen. Be careful though, you don't really want to play too many of your Serenas early on, because if you waste them, you may not have enough boss effects to use later on. You want to keep at least 1 copy in reserve, so that you at least get to target one of their V Pokemons on the bench to do a boss effect for the knockout condition, or even drag out their V-Star with full HP on the bench so they get to damage them with your Flare Parade, and then on the next turn play your Oricorio to collect the knockout on 2 V-Stars with Glistening Droplets. So if you have, for example, 27 damage counters on your opponent's active V-Star after doing Fireball Fever with your Choice Belt, on the next turn you can do a Serena playing your Braixen to hit for 240 damage against their bench V-Star, and then use Oricorio to collect the knockout on 2 V-Stars by placing the 5 damage counters, which is the perfect amount of damage counters to kill 2 V-Star with exactly 280 HP. So we still need the Choice Belt though, but we are playing 1 copy with Raihan for the free search. We even have our Lumineon to search for our Raihan, so it's not too difficult to get it out. We even have, we also have our Trekking Shoes to discard our Serena from the top deck, or even Ultra Ball, Quick Ball if we draw them into our hand with our Bibarel. So it's not too difficult to discard Serena while doing your, while playing a Raihan at the same time. If you play Raihan though, you're not allowed to discard extra copies of Serena from your hand by playing, you know, Serena from your hand. So here comes our first Simisear. We're gonna do Fireball Fever, and we actually get to play Raihan right now. So eventually I decided, you know what, let's test out Zigzagoon. You know, because we only need 1 extra damage counters against a V-Star deck if we have Choice Belt attached. If we play Zigzagoon, and that would mean we don't need to waste a turn playing an attack to collect the knockout, because we are using Glistening Droplets as an attack, and that means you are wasting 1 turn placing only 5 damage counters if you have no Choice Belt. If you don't have a Choice Belt, Zigzagoon isn't going to work anyways, but if you don't have a Choice Belt, you know, you can't actually play the Serena to target your opponent's V-Star Pokemon, expecting to do a double knockout with Oricorio. So Oricorio doesn't work unless if you have that Choice Belt at the right time. Whereas with Zigzagoon, you don't really need to wait for the right time. You just need to attach the Choice Belt at some point in the game, and then place that 1 damage counter with an ability, and which is, you know, using an ability to place damage counters is a lot more efficient, just because it gives you a free turn to collect to do more damage with more attackers. So I feel like Zigzagoon has a lot more value, especially if you're playing Scoop Up Net for this list. But I just prefer, you know, the variety. If we have Oricorio, we can, you know, attack by placing extra damage counters. If we have no attackers, for example, if we have not enough cards in our deck, we may eventually deck out because we are discarding every single turn with Fireball Fever, unless if we can attack, you know, with our Braixen. Eventually, we would be able to attack with Braixen, and if they don't do a boss, if they are smart, they may just do a boss to kill our Braixens though and force us to keep discarding our deck with our Simisear, eventually decking ourselves out with Fireball Fever. So you have to be very conscious of the attack because you are milling yourself, you're milling your own deck, and that may actually cost you a lot in the game. So make sure you are aware how many cards left you have in the deck. We do have that one rod to shuffle back our cards, but it's not actually enough for us to warrant you know, us to play Fireball Fever that many times in a game. So do not use that attack way too many times. Make sure you attack with Braixen whenever you are, whenever you have enough Serena in your discard pile. You have to attack with Braixen already. You cannot wait a single turn, because if you discard too many cards with your Simisear, you're done for. Okay, here comes the Darkrai V-Star doing 240 damage for the knockout. And I feel like we got the Choice Belt though. If we can dig for the Choice Belt, we're doing a knockout against the Darkrai because we just need 240 damage to kill it off. Okay, we got our Air Balloon, Magma Basin, that's perfect. We even got Escape Rope and Bird Keeper. Okay, I feel like we should be playing Greninja first. Or maybe Serena first. I'm not sure what to do here. I think we should just play Greninja Bird Keeper, because Bird Keeper gives us a triple draw. Okay. So we're just gonna play the capture. And Magma Basin onto the Simisear. If we get the V-Star, we would be able to kill the Darkrai by discarding another 5. I don't think we have that many Serena in the discard pile yet. That's the reason we're playing our Simisear V-Star. Oh, okay. Okay, we're doing Flare Juggling, maybe. Okay, we're gonna do Flare Juggling. Okay, I have no idea. So all we need is one more V knockout on the next turn to win the game. We have a lot of Serenas, and that means if we get another copy, we just got it from the prize. We can quite easily knock them out with our Magma Basin, Air Balloon, Serena, Braixen. We even have an Ultra Ball to search for our Braixen. So I feel like we won the game already. If they don't do a Marnie, if they do a Marnie, we got Bibarel, so I feel like we should be fine. If they do a boss, they can't do a boss and Marnie at the same time, right? Okay, here comes the Ultra Ball. So how many Serenas do we have in the discard pile? I'm not actually too sure. I feel like we have only 2. If we play the Serena from our hand on the next turn though, we got 180 damage to kill off the Crobat, which is enough to win the game. So playing too many Crobats is going to cost you. I don't think Crobat is a good card right now, just because it's only 180 HP and you can quite easily knock it out with, you know, 200 damage. V-Stars can do at least 200 damage now. Arceus V-Star is doing 180 with double turbo, 210 with Choice Belt, so it's quite easy to kill off Crobat. Lumineon V if you have it on your bench, so make sure you don't play too many copies of them in your deck. We only have one Lumineon V in our deck, in addition to our V-Star. No other V cards, no other 2-price liability, no VMAX as well. Okay, so they did not knock us out. Surprisingly, they're not doing enough damage with Darkrai V-Star because they already played their Star Abyss for the Dark Patch, and they have no Moltres, not enough Moltres apparently because they just bench way too many Crobats. They can only play one extra card from their hand though. They can only bench another 1 copy of the Moltres, and if they just need 1 Dire Flame Wings though, I feel like, because that's extra 30 damage to kill off the Simisear in the active. But if they do Malevolent Charge, they can get 2 extra energies into play on the same turn, doing 60 extra damage. So we got our Fire Energy for the bench Simisear. We should actually be attacking with Braixen right now, but we're choosing to play Flare Juggling instead. I'm not sure why. We got our Ultra Ball for the V-Star. I feel like we already discarded though. We may have 2 V-Stars in the discard pile already, or 1 prized. And that's probably the reason why we did not play our Simisear to do Ember Star or even Fireball Fever. Ember Star is kind of a late game strategy though. If you have 10 energies in the discard pile, inclusive of special energies, if you have 10 energies, you can do 300 damage with your Ember Star for only 1 fire cost, which is a lot of damage for 1 energy. So here comes Moltres doing Fiery Wrath, forcing us to draw only 1 prize on the next turn, trying to stall and deny us the V-Star knockout. So they're trying to buy themselves some time while doing a knockout with Fiery Wrath. 220 damage is a lot. If they play Clara on the next turn, they can do another knockout. So they're kind of forcing us to play our Serena right now, and we got our Ultra Ball. All we need is our Ultra Ball to get our Lumineon V to search for our Serena. Played for the boss effect, killing a Crobat with 240 damage using Flare Parade for the win. So that's actually end of the game. We're gonna do Luminesign to search for Serena. And then play Braixen for the knockout. There we go, our final copy. We're doing 240 damage. I don't think we have any copy prized, so we got pretty lucky for this game. We're gonna drag out the Darkrai apparently. So Darkrai has 15 damage counters, and we're gonna knock it out with our Flare Parade, doing 240 max damage with Braixen. Look at that. Simisear, Braixen, perfect combo. On to the next game, we have Lugia V-Star now. We're up against Lugia with Arceus. So Arceus is also playing a V-Star power ability, and that means they're gonna have to choose whether to play Star Birth or Summoning Star. They can't do both because they are both V-Star powers. And if they search their deck, if they use the search power, they are not allowed to play Summoning Star. And that means no more Arceus, no more Primal Turbo. So I don't think Arceus is a good combo, because if you play Star Birth, you can actually use Trinity Nova though. If you play Trinity Nova for your Lugia V-Star to attack, it's still not bad. Because Arceus can actually attack quite fast if you have double turbo. If you search for Melanie as well, it's quite easy to play Trinity Nova early in the game. So it's kind of making Lugia V-Star decks a lot more consistent, giving them the option of playing either Summoning Star or Star Birth to get through the first few turns. Because if you don't get your discard, if you don't discard Arceus early, you can't actually play Primal Turbo for the energy. And if you don't get the energy, they have the failsafe to fall back on, which is Arceus V-Star to do Trinity Nova. While doing damage, they get to play the attack to attach extra energy onto the Lugia V-Star on the bench, preparing for their next attacker. So they can do damage consistently, consistent damage 200 plus with Sharon as well. They can recover all damage while playing Trinity Nova over and over with double turbo Melanie, charging up for the next attacker while also removing all damage counter by putting all attached cards back into their hand, including the Arceus V-Star. Or even the Lugia, because they are playing a full colorless deck, and they can also play Dunsparce with Manaphy for the extra protection, weakness guard, and also bench guard. So they're kind of going for non-stop damage with Lugia / Arceus, doing 200 plus damage easy every single turn. So here comes our V-Star. We can already do a knockout on our first turn if we get the energy into our hand. So we have to discard 1 energy with Greninja just to play the Magma Basin, and we already have the energy for the retreat though. So we can already do our first knockout if we get 1 energy with our Trekking Shoes Marnie / Greninja. So we got our double turbo. I feel like we should be attaching it right now because we got 220 damage anyways. I don't think we need more than that. We are playing Oricorio though, so it's important to note that double turbo is reducing your damage by 20, and you can't actually play it that many times. We're only playing 1 copy anyway, so we have our Choice Belt. If we use Choice Belt with double turbo, we are doing only 250 damage max with our Fireball Fever, and that's actually not enough to collect the knockout with our Oricorio, since we are only placing since we need to place up to 7 damage counters, and that's not enough to knock out 2 V-Stars with our Glistening Droplets, right? If we need 3 damage counter on 1 V-Star and 4 more on the second one, since we only have 1 Choice Belt to spare, so it's important to play your Choice Belt at the right time. Don't attach your double turbo with Choice Belt on the same Pokemon. Unless if you get the knockout though, because there are low HP V-Stars with 250 or less HP. So they just conceded because we got an Ultra Ball to search for Lumineon. We actually have to get Lumineon though because we have no supporter cards, no Bibarel in play. We have our Bidoof prize, unfortunately, and that means we actually are forced to play Lumineon to search for our supporter card to get by for the next turn. Or even play it on this turn. I don't think we played a supporter yet. So they just conceded because we got our first knockout early against the Lugia, and they may not have the Arceus V-Star in their hand. That's probably the reason why they conceded. So getting 2 prize early in the game is gonna help you a lot because we even have our Braixen to do another V knockout on the next turn. So against V-Star though, we need a couple more turns to do the knockout. We even have 1 rod to recycle not just our Simisear to do 𝑷𝑻𝑪𝑮𝑶 late stage in the game, but also to recycle our Braixen. We can choose either to show back our V-Star or Braixen to do damage more times. So now we're up against a Mew VMAX deck. We have Drapion to do a 1-hit knockout, and we even have our Simisear to do big damage with 𝑷𝑻𝑪𝑮𝑶 late stage in the game for a VMAX knockout. So I feel like we have this one. Anyways, I'm just gonna end the voice right here because focus on the game. Hope you guys enjoyed this new combo. Today I'm featuring our Simisear VSTAR, the new card from Crown Zenith, with the Fireball Fever attack doing a maximum of 240 damage by discarding the top 5 cards of your deck. You get to discard, you get to choose any amount of cards that you are discarding, doing 40x damage for each card you discard from the top of your deck. So we are also doing 40 base for 1 fire and 2 colorless for Fireball Fever, and we are using that attack to discard Serena from the deck, helping us do more damage with our Braixen, playing Flag Parade for 60x damage, doing 60x for each Serena in your discard pile. That's giving us an additional attacker doing up to a maximum of 240 damage for a 1 price attacker. We also have our Magma Basin, Raihan, and Double Turbo says by the attack cost with Radiant Greninja, Bibarel, and Serena for the draw spot. So that's all for this video. We'll see you next time. Have a great day and bye for now, people. Enjoy your life.
you.